These 7 people that we're honoring today are 7 examples of what our community is all about. The good things in our communities, because I hate to say it, when we're down and out and the worst happens to us, like 9/11 and other incidents and, storms or whatever it may be, snowstorms, it's the people that identify our community. It's the people that come out and make the difference. When we come together as one, that's the difference in a community. And that's what I love about Albany County. It's the people here, the 7 that we're identifying. It's the people in the room. It's people when you walk down the street. Yes, we are friendly people, smile. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you see somebody that looks sad and you give them a big hug or you give them a smile and you just say, how's your day going? That makes a difference. But a volunteer for kids to look up to, say, hey, it's just not going to work every day. It's not just coming home. It's about mowing someone's lawn. It could be giving back to the Little League, your Little League coaches. Think about if we had to pay every Little League coach in this country. There wouldn't be Little League. There wouldn't be basketball anymore because you couldn't afford it. So some of the numbers I want to share with you is that 62.6 million adults volunteer through organizations in 2015, because the hardest thing to get is statistics. It always takes a year or two. But the one thing I'm proud about is over 3 million volunteers who dedicated more than 500 million hours of their service to various organizations here in New York State that resulted into about $14.5 million in savings to organizations. If you think about it, your Center for Disabled or whatever organization, Red Cross, if they didn't have volunteers, they would fall. They couldn't do their mission without help. Our rape crisis lines, the people that volunteer many hours on the phones for us. We couldn't afford to do that around the clock. We couldn't afford to reach and help people without volunteering. And that's what makes Albany County, I believe, in the state of New York, the best county, because of the people that are here in this audience, the people that we're dedicating, and to the many more people here that do things that we might not even know that they do day in, day out, that don't look for a pat on their back, that don't look for that, hey, I'm getting recognized. But just like the 7 of you here today, you didn't ask to get recognized, but we're recognizing you because you made a difference in a lot of people's lives. And not too many people can say that. And I will challenge everyone in this room, when you leave here today and you go forward in your life, give back. But challenge yourself to make someone else's life that much better, because you can.
In 2011, all of his contributions were recognized when he was elected to the position of district chief, a position he held through 2017. 7 years as chief is one heck of an accomplishment. Here are some of the highlights and accomplishments he achieved during his time as our chief. He established strong, healthy relationships with major businesses within our district that in turn provided funding through grants and et cetera for some of our district equipment projects to the tune of over $60,000 that was saved to the taxpayers. He also saw other benefits of having good relationships with our local businesses. Some examples were finding alternative training locations, including a scrap metal yard, which had a lot of old cars, down at the Port of Albany, which was an excellent location for vehicle extrication training. Another example was the donation of an older enclosed trailer from Air Products that has already been put into good use. In 2012, he led a group of Selkirk firefighters down to Long Beach, Long Island, right after Hurricane Sandy wreaked havoc on the East Coast. He responded to numerous calls in a leadership capacity while on the scene, including a working structure fire. He received a great deal of gratitude and respect from the officers of the local fire department he was serving out of on Long Beach, as well as other assisting outside visiting fire departments due to his strong leadership abilities. In 2014, when the call went out, he once again has stepped up in another times of need when he led a group out to the Buffalo area in 2014 after that area was hit with several feet of snow. While out in the western part of the state, he responded to various emergency calls, including one where they assisted rescuing someone from the roof of a Home Depot store. And in 2015, the Selkirk Fire Department was dispatched to one of the largest structure fires in the history of our area at the Bethlehem Industrial Park in Selkirk. Again, his leadership skills were on display, organizing the response to this incident that incorporated over 10 various fire and emergency service organizations from local and state levels. These are just a few of Chief Ashburn's many accomplishments that he achieved during his 7 years as chief of our department. So on behalf of the Selkirk Fire District Board of Fire Commissioners, the Selkirk Fire Department Board of Directors, and the members of the Selkirk Fire Department, we thank you once again for honoring past Chief Bill Ashburn with this award.
As a volunteer, I left my family Christmas dinner, New Year's Eve. Sorry. It's meant a lot to me to have the family support to do this job. Without the family support, you can't do it. The people in the front row, you can't be a volunteer without your families, and I know they're here. You just can't do it. Because when you leave and you conduct yourself in the community to support and work with the community, such as when I went to Long Beach, Dan's county coordinator found myself, I was at the Giants game, yeah, I'm a Steeler fan, called me.
Take back that award.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
They called me and said, "Where are you?" And I said, "I'm in the Meadowlands at the game." My wife's got the arm, said, "We're not leaving." It was first quarter. So, long story short, we met at 3 a.m. at Crossgates, went to Long Island. I took about approximately 60 firefighters from 6 different agencies. I was the officer in charge. Looking at rewards, that was the most rewarding thing I ever did in my life.
I know Barbara from the CDTA bus, of all places. I work downtown, and I commute on the bus with Barbara. And I met her and her husband, who's sitting right behind her. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Don. I met them on my morning commute. And I was going to work, and so was Barb. But she was going to her volunteer job, which, as Dan McCoy said, she has had for 45 years. In 1973, Barb started volunteering at the Salvation Army. And it didn't take long for them to notice what a wonderful person she was, and how engaging she was, how caring she was, and how dedicated she was to come in every day on the bus in all kinds of weather, even a day like today. I know she's going there immediately after this, and to help the people in our community, the down and out in our community. 10 years after she started, the Salvation Army asked her to manage the soup kitchen that they were running from downtown. And Barb took that on and managed it for 20 years. In 2003, the soup kitchen was demolished to build the family court building. But the Salvation Army transformed the soup kitchen into a mobile canteen, and Barb has volunteered there for the past 15 years. Barb lifts people up. She lightens our burdens. She's not just feeding people on a soup line. She's not just handing out food and feeding stomachs. She's reaching people, and she's lifting people up and strengthening all of us. Even CDTA bus drivers have recognized Barb and what she does in this community. I've seen them refer people to her who need services, and she takes the time out of her day to help people.
The Salvation Army can always use volunteers. During the holiday seasons, at Thanksgiving and Christmas, they give out baskets to the people who are in need. They also have a food pantry that runs 3 days a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. They also have the mobile canteen that runs also Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, serving an evening meal for those who are on the street. Or you can help me in the Salvation Army kitchen, preparing the evening meal for the mobile canteen. Once again, I thank you, and I give the Lord all of the credit, and for helping me to be here in all of this. And I wish you all many blessings and peace in your ventures.
Certainly, in any nonprofit organization, the volunteers are truly the lifeblood of the organization. They are often the unsung heroes, but we certainly just would not be able to do all that we can do and we want to do without dedicated volunteers like Larry. Actually, I call him Dr. Larry because he has 2 doctorates. He's accomplished quite a bit in his life. And so to come into the later stages and really commit to spending so many hours volunteering, we truly appreciate it. And I just want to read one thing that I found when I was looking up the definition of volunteer. What is a volunteer? And I want to read this. Volunteering offers vital help to people in need, worthwhile causes, and the community. But the benefits can be even greater for you, the volunteer. Volunteering and helping others can help reduce stress, combat depression, keep you mentally stimulated, and provide a sense of purpose. So on behalf of all those at the Pride Center, I want to say you're welcome. But Larry, thank you so very much for all that you do.
Driving down here this morning with a friend of mine, Neil, he wondered why I am so happy to be able to be a chaperone at the alternative prom every year. And the reason is that I wish there had been something like that when I was growing up. And I like to see all those young faces enjoying themselves, being open about who they are, and being proud. So I just hope that individuals within any community that have been discriminated against over the years will come to say that same thing and be proud of who they are. I know at the Pride Center, the picture up here, or that was up there, showed me at the Rainbow Cafe, which I staff on a regular basis, have for the past 14 years. And it's enabled me to meet and interact with plenty of individuals, and some of whom I hope that I've made a difference in their lives. I also had, for a couple of years, been a facilitator for the men's group, the men's support group at the Pride Center. I always try to participate in the activities and volunteer for the activities of the Pride Parade and Festival, which incidentally are coming up in this coming June. And I hope everybody can enjoy themselves in Washington Park on that occasion. So that's about it, except for the fact Pride Center is not the only place I volunteer. I also volunteer at the Salvation Army and have also for 14 years when I moved back to the area from having spent 46 years at Notre Dame out in South Bend, Indiana.
Christopher Diott first came to St. Catherine's Center for Children 4 years ago, looking to make a difference. At St. Catherine's, we serve children who've experienced severe neglect and abuse, have been removed from the custody of their parents, and require 24-hour supervised treatment care. Some of the kids at St. Catherine's were actually the same age as Chris when he first came to us, which speaks volumes of who he was as a kid, even at that young of an age. As you can imagine, our kids are also in dire need of positive influences and experiences in their lives. Luckily, Chris has been able to provide both for our kids. Every year, Chris organizes a Christmas drive with his scout troop, collecting toys and filling stockings for every child living in our Copson House residential facility, which can hold up to 25 kids at a time. Chris then sets up a date each holiday season to deliver the stockings and holds a Christmas party for all the kids at the facility, getting one-on-one time with each child, giving them their stockings, spending some time with them, and giving them the true Christmas spirit that many of the kids have never experienced before. A lot of our kids, when they come to us, this is the first Christmas they've ever had. They've never heard of Santa Claus. They've never had a Christmas tree. They've never gotten a gift. And Chris has been able to provide that for some of our children. On top of that, Chris also organizes a laser tag day for the kids every year. It's become an annual tradition. Chris and his friends take a select number of our kids to Zero Gravity in Albany, and they have a fun-filled day of laser tag and pizza. and it's become one of the most memorable days of the year for our kids and an annual tradition, as I just mentioned. Despite only being in high school, Chris has already proven to be a dedicated, admirable individual. In his 4 years with St. Catherine's, given the amount of turnover we've had with our kids, Chris has helped in the hundreds, over hundreds and hundreds of kids in the capital region.
I'm going to be completely honest. I'm not great at giving speeches or anything. I'd like to thank Mr. Rossi for nominating me, and of course, Mr. McCoy and his staff for having me here. And I have to give a thanks to my parents. I wouldn't be able to do nearly the stuff I do without any of their help or support, especially you, Mom, for driving me everywhere. When I first started at St. Catherine's, it was for my Eagle Project. I wanted to do something that could help not just anyone, but people my age. And actually seeing the difference between how these kids are, how they grew up, compared to how I had it, made me want to do something about it. Because I had a really nice life. I grew up in a nice house in Latham, where these kids, they were surrounded by who knows what and who knows where. That really struck me as I need to do something anything I can do to help them. Thank you.
Jaron makes my life easy. He never says no whenever I ask him to volunteer. He's always been there. All of our citywide events. He has been every mascot and character you can think of. And earlier, county exec said volunteering means making people happy, and I think Jaron fulfills that. He comes from a wonderful family. His parents are there to support him, and he is going to school. He is in Tech Smart. He is part of Youth Advisory Board. He is part of National Honor Society. He does many things, but he always finds time to be there for our community. So I am so grateful that we get to honor Jaron for all his hard work today, and he is an asset to our Cohoes proud community, and you make me so proud to see you at all of our events.
I don't really have a speech or anything kind of set up. I just want to, just give my thanks to Kathleen for giving me the opportunities to put my service hours in. Big thanks to my parents. I really held off getting my driver's license for a good 6 months, and they were always there to give me rides anywhere I needed to go. Give all my service hours. I want to thank Dan Heiko. He's played a big part in the city, and he's helped me a lot getting those service hours. I don't really have a speech for anyone here. If you guys were expecting a long speech, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for the nomination.
Mr. Mullins has always been an advocate for Stop DWI. He has volunteered at numerous victim impact panels. Before Uber and Lyft, Mr. Mullins was always your call for a safe ride home, no matter the time or day. I never used his services, but I love to hear about the stories. He may have been seen at vendor fairs or community events, handing out bottles of water and encouraging participants to be designated drivers. Recently, Mr. Mullins has led the charge of repurposing bicycles. For the past couple years, Mr. Mullins has been collecting, storing, and repairing bikes. He has basements and garages throughout Green Island full of these bicycles. Let's face it, children grow out of bikes as quickly as they do sneakers. Mr. Mullins has bicycles everywhere, and knowing when someone is in need, he's at their door, ringing their doorbell with a surprise. He has brought laughter and excitement to many families. Not only does he bring a bike for the little one, but if he knows mom and dad needs a bike, he'll bring them one too. Families have created memories because of Mr. Mullins' generosity. He has brought tremendous joy to the children of the Cohoes Community Center and Boys and Girls Clubs across the region. He's donated bikes to the Green Island Giving Tree, visited daycare centers with bikes in tow, and has offered donations to area hospitals.
I think at the heart and core of everything we do is dignity. The dignity of other people. Providing dignity, enhancing dignity for everyone. And this is my newest campaign. I stand out in front of school with this sign every day, Dignity First, trying to get people to remember that, again, when you look at these pictures, you're looking at people who are volunteers enhancing the dignities of others. And I try to never forget that. So this is it's a very humbling time for me because I never expected this to happen. And as volunteers, we're just people that see a need in the community and we attempt to address it. We see a need in the community as a challenge that needs to be addressed. And so the people who I can't name or thank here today, but I want to throw a thank you to all of the memories, are the many people in Green Island who, when I was growing up, before I was your age, and then when I was your age, who ran organizations like Little League, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Cub Scouts, Brownies, Mothers Clubs, PTOs, all things that made our community better places to live and to work. And as I worked with these people, some of them took the time to remind me, they said, Tom, you know, it'll be your turn at some point to give back. But there's others that just gave me that powerful example that I could see it every day and see the difference that they're making, not only in my life, but in other people's lives, and saying, give back, give back, give back. So to all of you who are sitting here today, I want to thank you for everything you've done.
Barry has always made himself available to us, particularly to me when I'm calling him last minute, asking him, can you come to a meeting? We need you, we're short people. And he does this not only in addition to his full-time position, but on top of all the other things that he does. He's committed to the community in a number of other ways. Our volunteers, when they come to the meeting, many volunteers, they'll open the meeting by telling our youth how much they care about them, that they're here for them, they care about the community, and Barry absolutely embodies that statement. Barry truly believes in the potential of all our youth, in their ability to achieve greatness, and he understands that it takes a village, and he's become a leader in that village. And we are so honored to have him as a volunteer, and thank you, Mr. County Executive, for nominating him.
You can't do this if you don't have a spirit of humility and being humble and understanding that if you walk through this life and you haven't helped somebody, then your living has been in vain. And so that is something that my mom taught me, that I practice, that I believe in, and I believe that every child has a right to be the best that they can. Yes? And let me acknowledge, so that's my church family, but I have an extended family. I have Dahlia here, Freda, my brother just left. I got Nell from the NAACP. And so when Lisa talked about it takes a village, I have a huge village. And that's what keeps me doing the work that I need to be doing. Colleen and Lisa, just to give you it makes sense because when I got out of college, my first job was as a probation officer. Well, actually at Parsons Child and Family Center, and then a probation officer for Albany County. And I didn't know Lisa then, but Colleen and I worked together back in 1985 for the county. And I only worked in one department, and that was the juvenile unit. I stayed there entire 5 years. I said I did not want to work with adults. I just give me little people. And so I know that the Creator had a purpose for me, right? And so what I do now with the Juvenile Community Accountability Board is often remembering that we're accountable for the community, that juveniles can't make choices and do things without some adult guidance. And they may have made a wrong choice back then. However, we become the vehicle and the facilitator to help them make better choices.